Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi discusses West Asia developments with Iranian President Pezeshkian, stresses peace and stability as talks between Tehran and US see no breakthrough. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi to hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on her three-day tour to India, also to attend business forum. South Africa's anti-migrant protesters marched nationwide as unofficial deadline for illegal migrants to leave the country without papers comes into effect. Europe's struggle with heatwave continues. Hungary, Slovakia hit new temperature records. On the other hand, Canada grappling with wild weather from flooding to extreme heat. In FIFA World Cup, Haaland and Mbappe delivers another brace as France rout Sweden in the knockout round, while Erling Haaland steers Norway into the last 16 with a 2-1 win over Ivory Coast. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephonic conversation with President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Dr. Masoud Pezeshkian. President Pezeshkian briefed Prime Minister on the recent developments in West Asia and the way forward. Prime Minister welcomed the understanding reached and reiterated India's consistent position that all issues must be resolved through dialogue and diplomacy. Prime Minister reiterated the need for continued efforts to ensure lasting peace and stability in the region and for safeguarding freedom of navigation and commerce. India and Japan are expected to focus on cooperation in the Indo-Pacific as well as new projects on critical and emerging technologies as Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi arrives on Wednesday on a three-day visit for the 16th India-Japan Annual Summit. Takaichi's visit is expected to set the course for ties over the next decade, especially against the backdrop of conflict in the Persian Gulf region. Prime Minister Takaichi will be accorded a ceremonial reception at Rashtrapati Bhavan. She will then hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two leaders are expected to review progress in bilateral ties and discuss ways to further deepen cooperation across key sectors. Now, this will be followed by exchange of memoranda of understanding and joint press statements. Later, Prime Minister Takaichi will participate in the India-Japan Business Forum at the national capital. The summit will provide an opportunity for both sides to review and strengthen the full spectrum of bilateral cooperation and also exchange views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. This is Prime Minister Takaichi's first official visit to India. In particular, the Japanese Prime Minister will discuss the new version of Japan's Indo-Pacific policy, which she unveiled in May this year during a visit to Vietnam. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal continues to hold high-level meetings in Greece. He met Minister of Infrastructure and Transport Christos Dimas and discussed enhancing India-Greece cooperation across infrastructure, transport connectivity, maritime sector, aviation and sustainable mobility. Piyush Goyal said that he looks forward to advancing deeper collaboration to build resilient supply chains and further strengthen connectivity between India and Europe. The visiting minister also held productive meeting with Minister of Economy and Finance of Greece, Kyriakos Pyrakakis. The discussions focused on strengthening India-Greece economic ties through enhanced cooperation in financial services, fintech, digital payments and emerging technologies. The two leaders also explored avenues for deeper collaboration between the institutions and businesses of both countries for shared prosperity. India's Unified Payments Interface, that is UPI, has officially gone live in Greece, marking a significant milestone in the global expansion of India's digital payments ecosystem. This move marks a pivotal step in India's ongoing efforts to scale its digital public infrastructure on a global level. Take a look.
India's premier digital payment gateway, the Unified Payments Interface or UPI, has expanded its reach into southeastern Europe, officially going live in Greece. The rollout, driven by a partnership between Greece Eurobank and NPCI International, will enable Indian travelers to execute instant and secure digital payments across the country. Announcing the development, Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal stated that the initiative will empower eligible users to make frictionless transactions. He added that transaction costs will be drastically reduced to a mere fraction of conventional international transfer fee. Minister highlighted that the increasing global acceptance of UPI reflects international trust in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of building technology led solutions. He emphasized that these solutions create value beyond borders and deepen international partnership for shared growth and prosperity. With Greece joining the network, UPI's international footprint has now expanded to 10 countries. The indigenous digital payment system is already accepted in Singapore, UAE, France, Mauritius, Nepal, Bhutan, Qatar, Sri Lanka, and Cambodia. The recent steady expansion across Europe aligns with New Delhi's broader strategy of exporting its robust digital ecosystem to global markets through institutional partnerships with foreign banks and governments. Earlier, Commerce Minister also addressed the India-Greece Business Forum at Athens. Minister Goyal emphasized the immense potential of the upcoming India-EU trade agreement in unlocking fresh avenues for trade and investment. Minister also highlighted India's resilient economic trajectory, noting that the nation continues to register remarkable growth despite persistent global headwinds.
We offer to you a trusted partner. India grew by 7.7% in the year just ended 31st March 2026, making us the fastest growing large economy in the world. In fact, in the last quarter, January to March 26, despite a very turbulent geopolitical and global situation, India continued to power on with 7.8% growth in that quarter.
With the successful deployment of world's largest real-time payment platform in Greece, New Delhi and Athens have further consolidated their long-term strategic partnership. Their renewed ties reflect a deeper, comprehensive transformation in bilateral ties spanning across the digital economy, trade, investment, and enhanced people-to-people connections. Tripti Tripaঠি's report for DD India.
The Digital India program has become the backbone of public service delivery, financial inclusion and digital innovation. As the program completes 11 years today, it reflects a decade of empowering citizens through technology and building the foundation for a Viksit Bharat by 2047. Here's a report.
From long queues and paperwork to digital governance at the click of a button, Digital India has transformed the lives of millions since its launch in 2015. Affordable internet, expanding broadband connectivity, and digital infrastructure have brought government services closer to citizens. Today, digital platforms are powering healthcare, education, banking, and welfare delivery, making governance more transparent, efficient, and inclusive across the country. The Digital India program has strengthened public digital infrastructure through initiatives such as BharatNet, Common Service Centers, DigiLocker, eHospital, eSanjeevani, and MyGov. The JAM Trinity, Janadhan, Aadhaar, and Mobile has revolutionized financial inclusion and transparent welfare delivery. Direct benefit transfers worth over 49 lakh crore rupees have reached beneficiaries directly, eliminating leakages and improving service delivery. India has also emerged as a global digital powerhouse. UPI now accounts for nearly 49% of global real time digital payment transactions, while the country's digital economy contributes nearly 12 to 14% of GDP. Electronics manufacturing has grown significantly, making India the world's second largest mobile phone manufacturer. At the same time, digital platforms such as Diksha, Swayam, PME Vidya, and AgriStack are expanding access to education, agriculture, and digital public services. Digital India is also preparing the nation for the future by promoting innovation, entrepreneurship, and emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and cybersecurity. Skilling initiatives like PMG Disha, Future Skills, Prime Minister, and the Skill India Digital Hub are creating a future ready workforce. As India moves towards the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, Digital India continues to drive inclusive growth, technological self reliance, and citizen empowerment across the nation. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
India is marking GST Day, celebrating the 9th anniversary of the Goods and Services Tax, a landmark reform that transformed the country's indirect tax system. Also introduced in 2017, GST replaced multiple central and state taxes with a unified framework, creating a common national market under the vision of one nation, one tax. Over the past decade, the system has evolved through digitization, policy reforms, and stronger center-state coordination. The next generation GST reforms introduced in 2025 further simplify the tax structure with fewer tax slabs, easier compliance, faster refunds, and measures aimed at supporting households, MSMEs, farmers, artisans, and exporters. The Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Grameen Act 2025 came into force across rural India from Wednesday. The national launch of the scheme will be held on Thursday. The Act replaces the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. The new scheme, designed with a focus on employment generation, creation of durable assets, and technology-driven transparency. It provides a statutory guarantee of up to 125 days of wage employment to eligible rural households, as compared to 100 days provided under the previous rural employment framework. Under the new framework, Gram Panchayats will now use integrated digital platforms to map existing public assets, identify infrastructure gaps, and design development works based on real-time geospatial data. Earlier, the centre on Tuesday notified revised wage rates under the new Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. The national average wage has now increased from Rs 298.8 per day under Manrega to Rs 327.4 per day under the new Act, an average increase of Rs 28.6 per day. The revised wage rates, effective from July 1st, have been increased across all 34 states, union territories, and wage regions. Delhi government's new portal for EV incentives will be launched soon, allowing buyers of eligible electric vehicles to apply online under the Delhi EV Policy 2026. Under the new EV policy, verified applicants will receive purchase and scrapping incentives directly into their bank accounts via direct benefit transfer. Once the portal is ready, any eligible EV buyer will have to apply within 30 days of registration certificate generation to claim the incentives. Officials added the portal will at a later stage include real-time charging station data, authorized scrapping vendor and dealership contacts, and other policy details, while road tax and registration fee exemptions will be applied automatically during registration. Heavy rainfall continues to affect several parts of the country as the Indian Met Department has forecast an active monsoon phase following the formation of a low-pressure system over the Bay of Bengal. The IMD has warned of very heavy to extremely heavy rainfall over Konkan, Goa, Madhya Maharashtra and Gujarat between 2nd and 4th of July. Active monsoon conditions are also expected over parts of northern India in the coming days, with authorities advising people in vulnerable areas to remain alert for waterlogging and localized flooding. Heavy rainfall lashed several parts of Mumbai, leading to waterlogging in Wadala East's Shantinagar area and affecting normal movement in the city. A flash flood triggered by a cloudburst was reported near the Jispa area in Lahaul and Spiti district of Himachal Pradesh following heavy rainfall in the region. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Caracas Metro resumes full services even as food and shelter crisis deepens in Venezuela after the massive earthquake. U.S. Supreme Court upholds birthright citizenship, rejecting Trump's proposed limits aimed at crackdown on legal and illegal immigration. After Meta and Amazon, Microsoft announces 2.5% trim of its workforce.
This week on Defense Dynamic, how India's first AI-piloted fighter concept, FWD Supreme, is redefining the future of air combat. As the MCA enters its decisive phase, the battle to build its indigenous engine is gathering pace. And how the Indian Air Force is building a layered air defense shield with the Nebo radar and indigenous Netra airborne early warning and control in guarding the skies. Watch it all this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. Let's get you more updates. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited occupied southern Lebanon on Tuesday and said that Israel would not leave southern Lebanon until the threat from Hezbollah has been removed. His visit came days after a U.S.-mediated security agreement under which Israel is expected to hand over 2 areas of the Lebanese army. Netanyahu said that Hezbollah still has thousands of rockets and missiles, while Israel maintains its military presence in a buffer zone along the border, despite a ceasefire agreed earlier this month. U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner have arrived in Doha for mediated talks on the implementation of the initial U.S.-Iran deal aimed at ending the war in Iran. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign ministry spokesman has confirmed that U.S. envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are in Doha, but there is no meeting with Iranian officials scheduled. The Iranian foreign ministry said in a statement on Monday evening that the mine clearance work in the Strait of Hormuz will be carried out by Iran alone, and Iran will not cooperate with any other country on this matter. The Iranian statement said that the current regional situation is sensitive and complex, and that Iran strongly advised France not to further complicate the situation with provocative actions. Iran's parliament speaker Ghalibaf said that Tehran will not begin negotiations on a final agreement until all clauses of the MOU have been implemented, including the cessation of hostilities in Lebanon and the release of foreign Iranian funds, among other provisions. Earlier on Monday, French President Emmanuel Macron said that France and Oman have agreed to work jointly with partners to clear mines in the Strait of Hormuz to secure maritime routes. Macron made the remarks on social media platform X after holding talks with Omani Sultan Haitham bin Tariq, who is on his first official visit to France. In other updates, South Africa is witnessing a wave of nationwide anti-immigration protests, with thousands of people marching to demand the departure of undocumented foreign nationals amid growing economic and social tensions. Police were deployed across the country as citizen-led groups staged demonstrations after setting an unofficial June 30th deadline for undocumented foreigners to leave. The weeks-long campaign has reportedly forced thousands to flee and has claimed 4 lives. The protests come as South Africa grapples with unemployment of over 30%, rising crime and strained public services, while protest groups accuse undocumented migrants of taking jobs and accessing public resources. Venezuela is facing a deepening humanitarian crisis after 2 powerful earthquakes killed nearly 2,000 people and left tens of thousands in need of food and shelter. The 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude earthquakes, among the worst disasters in Latin American history, have claimed 1,943 lives and injured more than 10,500 people. Search and rescue operations on the 6th day near the end, and nearly 6,500 people have been rescued from the rubble, while food shortages and the collapse of basic services have worsened conditions in the worst hit areas. Rescue teams also pulled a 3-year-old boy alive from the debris 6 days after the quake. The UN has appealed for nearly $15 million in aid as health authorities warn of disease outbreaks, and assessments indicate that nearly 59,000 buildings may have been damaged or destroyed. Meanwhile, Caracas Metro has resumed full commercial operations after authorities completed safety inspections. Metro services were suspended as a precaution after a 5.2 magnitude aftershock on June 29th, days after massive rare earthquakes. The underground network has briefly resumed operations on June 28th before the latest aftershock forced another suspension. Following comprehensive safety assessments, commercial services were restored across all lines and stations on June 30th. The U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday rejected Donald Trump's attempt to restrict birthright citizenship in the United States to end the 150-year-old policy. In a 6-3 decision, Chief Justice John Roberts ruled that the children born in the U.S. to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are citizens at birth under the 14th Amendment. The justices upheld a lower court's decision that blocked Trump's executive order directing U.S. agencies not to recognize the citizenship of children born in the United States if neither parent is an American citizen or legal permanent resident. Trump had issued the order last year on his first day back in office as part of a suite of policies to crack down on legal and illegal immigration. The U.S. Supreme Court has cleared the way for states to improve restrictions on transgender student athletes, upholding laws in Idaho and West Virginia banning them from female sports teams. The justices overturned decisions by lower courts, siding with transgender students who challenged the bans in the two states as violating the U.S. Constitution and a federal anti-discrimination law. The Idaho and West Virginia laws designate sports teams at public schools, including universities, according to biological sex, and bar students from the male sex from female teams. 25 other states have similar laws on the books. Idaho and West Virginia said the laws preserve fair and safe competition for women and girls, while critics see the measures as part of a broader assault on the rights of transgender Americans. Let's get to global weather updates now. Temperatures in Europe have reached new highs this summer, with unusually intense early summer heat waves linked to more than 1,300 excess deaths. In France, temperatures have eased slightly from record highs but still remain near 30 degrees Celsius across much of the country, with reports of at least 1,000 excess deaths linked to the heat wave. The National Weather Service has stated that temperatures are expected to rise again over the weekend and remain high into the next week. France's Public Health Authority reported that deaths have increased in both nursing homes and private households. Mortuaries in France have reported being overwhelmed by urgent requests seeking refrigerated storage for bodies following deaths linked to heatwave. Funeral services are under significant strain, with limited storage capacity leading to delays in burials and cremations, while authorities are considering additional temporary solutions. In Hungary, police and firefighters sprayed crowds with water cannons to help residents and tourists cool off during a severe heat wave. Emergency services turned water cannons into public cooling systems to help people cope with extreme heat, with locals and tourists gathering to enjoy the spray and find relief. Romanian residents sought relief from extreme heat as people flocked to pools, fountains and shaded areas to escape temperatures. From flooding to extreme heat, Canadians on both sides of the country are grappling with wild weather ahead of Wednesday's Canada Day holiday. In Toronto and other parts of eastern Canada, dangerously hot conditions prompted Environment Canada to issue a heat warning and urge residents to stay alert and take precautions. Temperatures in parts of Ontario and Quebec are expected to reach 34 to 37 degrees Celsius on Wednesday and Thursday. In Western Canada, heavy rainfall has caused flooding and dangerously high stream conditions, prompting evacuation alerts. Let's get to business updates now. Microsoft is planning to cut under 2.5% of its workforce in the latest round of layoffs that could be announced as early as next week, as reported. U.S. companies have continued to trim headcount in recent months with a fresh wave of layoffs across the technology, media and finance sectors as firms rein in costs while investing heavily in AI infrastructure. Across the technology sector, Meta announced plans this year to cut 10% of its workforce, and Amazon laid plans to eliminate roughly 16,000 jobs globally. On to sports now. Kylian Mbappe delivered another brace as France routs Sweden in knockout round, while Erling Haaland steered Norway into the last 16 of the FIFA World Cup with a 2-1 win over Ivory Coast. Mbappe took his tally for the tournament to 6 goals, making him joint top scorer alongside Lionel Messi with a superb double as France strolled past the Swedes 3-0 at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. The prolific French striker's latest brace took his career World Cup goals record to an incredible 18 in 18 matches, one behind Argentina superstar Messi's all-time record of 19 goals. The victory sends France into a last 16 duel with Paraguay in Philadelphia on Saturday. Earlier, striker Haaland fired Norway to their first ever World Cup knockout win in a 2-1 defeat of Ivory Coast in Texas. Haaland swept in an 86-minute winner to slam the door on Ivory Coast's hopes of a fight back after Amad Diallo had equalized for the Africans following Antonio Nusa's opener for Norway. The Norwegians, beaten in both of their previous opening knockout round appearances in 1938 and 1998, will face Brazil in the last 16 on Sunday, with a place in the quarterfinals up for grabs. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. Now, this app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks out on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.